I walked in with my kids holding homemade gifts. My dad looked up and said, "You really had to bring them?" My sister snorted into her coffee. My son whispered, "Did we do something wrong?" I just said, "No, baby." They did, and we left. An hour later, my mom called, screaming, "Why won't the bill go through? The card is declined. I let it ring until my sister." I never thought I'd be the one trying to explain to my kids why their own grandparents didn't seem to love them. It's been days since it happened, and Mason still hasn't asked to call Grandpa. Ava told her teacher she doesn't want to visit those people again. All because of one moment that probably didn't even register for my dad or sister, but it registered for them, and for me. It was Dad's 60th, supposed to be this big milestone. Family gathered, catered dinner, rented venue, whole thing booked on my card. Of course, they never even asked. Just assumed, like they always do. Like I owe them something for being born. The kids and I worked on gifts all week. Mason used glitter glue, which he hates, to make a card with a little paper medal that said, "Best Grandpa Ever." Ava folded an origami boat and decorated it with tiny hearts. I even helped her write a message inside to the grandpa, who makes everything fun. She practiced it so many times she had it memorized. We walked into the venue, and no one even looked up at first. The place was packed but cold, like actual freezing. Guests in the lobby were rubbing their arms, waiting for someone to figure out the thermostat. But Dad and Lauren were inside, comfortable, coffee in hand. He finally looked up. His eyes went straight to Mason and Ava, holding their handmade gifts. Then he said it. "You really had to bring them. Just like that. No, hello, no thanks, nothing." Lauren snorted into her drink like it was some hilarious inside joke. Mason leaned over and whispered, "Did we do something wrong?" "No, baby. They did." I turned and walked out without a word. No one followed. No one stopped us. Not even Mom. We drove across town and got milkshakes and fries. I watched my kids try to pretend they weren't crushed. They're too young to fake it well. An hour later, my phone lit up, calling over and over. I didn't answer. Then the text came. "Why won't the bill go through? The card is declined." "Yeah, it is. I had it locked the day before." I knew what they were planning. They booked a $3,800 venue on my dime, like always, assuming I'd pick up the tab while they bask in praise and insult my children. This time, I wasn't their safety net. Lauren finally texted me. "Way to ruin Dad's party. You're unbelievable." I sent her a screenshot of the declined transaction and turned off my phone. That was just the start. They thought they could humiliate my kids and still walk away with a party on me. They were about to find out what it felt like when I stopped pretending I don't see what they really are. It was 2 days of silence. Not a single call. Not a single message. Then I saw them. Lauren and my dad pulling into my driveway like they owned the place. She had that walk, the one she used when she was about to throw a tantrum and still expect applause. Dad trailed behind her like he was showing up for a press conference. The man didn't even look embarrassed. I opened the door, and before either of them could say a word, Lauren launched into it. "Well, that was a low move, even for you." I didn't respond. "You walked out and humiliated him in front of his guests. Do you have any idea how embarrassing that was for us?" I asked if she meant for me or for the kids, since they were the ones humiliated. She ignored it. She kept going, fast, sharp, like she had a script prepared. Said I was selfish, said I always had a flair for drama, said I'd probably been waiting for a chance to ruin something. That's when Dad jumped in. "You know I paid for her college. You think I don't take care of my family?" I stared at both of them. "You didn't pay for her college." "I did." Lauren laughed. "Sure you did." I walked into the kitchen and came back with a folder. I handed it to her. Tuition payments, receipts, transfers, $21,000 total. 80% of everything she thought came from Dad. She didn't speak. Not right away. She just looked down at the papers, flipping through slowly, like maybe if she stared hard enough, the numbers would change. I didn't do it for thanks. I didn't do it for credit. I did it because she asked me to keep it quiet, and because I thought maybe, just maybe, helping her would soften something in our family. I was wrong. Dad looked annoyed. Not ashamed, not surprised, just annoyed. Lauren's silence lasted less than a minute. Then the screaming started. "You're unbelievable. You waited until now to throw this in my face. You called me selfish. You made Dad's birthday about you. You always act like you're better than us because you have a little money and a mortgage." The irony wasn't even worth pointing out. I didn't respond. I just asked them to leave, politely, firmly. Once, twice, and then I begged, because Ava had started crying and Mason looked like he was holding his breath. "Please, not in front of them." Lauren ignored me. Dad sighed. That long, loud sigh he always did when he thought he was being burdened. I stepped between them and my kids. "Get out." Lauren scoffed, muttered something about how I always have to be the victim, then walked out. Dad followed, shaking his head. I didn't cry. I didn't scream after them. I closed the door and locked it, sat down on the floor with Mason and Ava, and told them we were going to make pizza from scratch. We made the dough and rolled it out until they were laughing again. After they went to bed, I sat alone and opened up my savings account. Every birthday, every dinner, every favor, I had the receipts. And the next morning, I had a meeting with a lawyer. I'd gone over it with the lawyer twice before signing anything. Every number, every receipt, every tuition payment with Lauren's name on it, from the dorm deposit to her graduation gown. I didn't want it to come to this. I really didn't. But it was never about the money anymore. It was about finally making them see that they couldn't just walk all over me and expect me to smile through it. The official letter went out on a Tuesday. By Friday, my phone was lit up like a Christmas tree. First, just unknown numbers. Then Mom's name. Then Lauren's. I didn't answer any of them, but I knew it was only a matter of time before they'd stop pretending this wasn't real. Saturday morning, Mom finally caught me off guard. Her voice was warm, almost sugary. Said she was making banana bread and asked if the kids wanted to come by for a taste, like we hadn't been screaming at each other days ago. I let her talk. Then she said, "Oh, by the way, we got this letter." She said it like it was junk mail, like maybe it had gotten mixed in with coupons and dentist reminders. I said, "Yes, that letter is from my lawyer." Her tone changed so fast, I actually had to sit down. "You're suing us?" I said I was asking to be repaid. What they owed. Nothing more. She gasped like I'd stabbed someone. Then she whispered to someone. Probably Dad. "She's serious." That's when the real storm hit. Within the hour, I had Dad on the phone, screaming that I was tearing the family apart. He said Lauren was going through so much and I was just making it harder. He said they'd taken me in, like I hadn't been paying them rent since I was 16. "You're making a scene over a little help for your sister." It wasn't a little help. It was $21,000, and not a cent of it was ever acknowledged. Then came the guilt trip. "You're going to take your own father to court?" "Yes, I am." He hung up. The silence lasted for about 3 hours. Then Lauren texted me. "Hope this was worth it. You've humiliated us." What humiliated you was assuming I'd never fight back. The next day I dropped the kids off at school, left them with the nanny for the afternoon, and went to clear my head. But around 3 p.m., my phone pinged again. "Uncle Ray." Just a simple, "You home?" 10 minutes later, he was standing in my doorway. He'd been at my parents' house when the topic came up. They were ranting, twisting the story to make it sound like I blackmailed them. Said I threatened them with court, all because I didn't get enough attention at a birthday party. I didn't say much, just handed him the folder with all the proof. Tuition receipts, bank transfers, texts from Lauren asking for help. He looked at everything, then handed it back without a word. And then he left. Apparently, he went straight back to my parents' house. I wasn't there to see it, but I heard from my cousin later what happened. Ray walked into the kitchen, tossed the folder onto the table and said, "You're gonna pay her back every last dollar. And if you don't, I'll make sure every relative within 5 states hears how you've been living off your daughter's back while treating her like dirt. Dad tried to speak. Ray didn't let him. She's done carrying you. You took advantage of her kindness, and you made her kids feel unwanted. You think she's the problem? The room went dead silent. 2 days later, a cashier's check for $21,000 was delivered to my house. No note, no apology, just the money. I deposited it, booked a Disney trip for me and the kids that night. First-class flights, 3 days at the Grand Californian. No budgeting, no guilt. I didn't post anything right away. But when I finally shared a few pictures online, smiling with my kids in front of Sleeping Beauty's castle, the comments started rolling in from them. Jealous little jabs. You're so fake. Must be nice throwing money around while your family falls apart. I didn't reply. I just blocked them. Every single one. The Disney trip was exactly what we needed. For the first time in months, the kids didn't ask why Grandpa didn't call. They didn't flinch at loud voices. Mason laughed. Really laughed. He got frosting all over his face from a Mickey-shaped donut. Ava collected pins like she was prepping for a museum exhibit. I even let them eat dessert before dinner, something I hadn't done since they were toddlers. It should have ended there. It should have just been that. A clean break. But the thing about people like my parents is they don't take being cut off as a consequence. They take it as an insult. The comments under the Disneyland photos weren't just petty. They were calculated. One from Mom's account said, "Some of us were raised to put family first." Another from Lauren said, "When Dad dies, don't come crying for forgiveness." But the worst came from a fake profile I knew was Dad's. He'd used the same nickname on eBay 10 years ago. It said, "Enjoy it while it lasts." Karma has a long memory. I blocked every single account, made everything private, changed my number, even warned the school in case someone accidentally showed up. But what I didn't expect was the letter. It came a week after we got home. No return address, just my name in messy handwriting on the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper. No greeting, no signature, just this. Hope it was worth ruining everything. You made your bed. The writing was definitely Mom's. It made me nauseous. I crumpled it up and almost threw it away, but instead I added it to the folder. The same folder with the receipts, the lawyer's letter, everything, because I wasn't taking any more chances. That weekend, I ran into someone unexpected. Eli. We weren't close, but he always treated me with respect. He saw me at the grocery store, gave me a hesitant smile, then asked if I was okay. I must have looked confused, because he added, "I heard what happened. Your dad told everyone you were hospitalized, that you had some kind of breakdown. He said you weren't stable." I nearly dropped my basket. They were spreading lies now, telling people I was mentally unwell just to make themselves look better, to erase what they'd done. I asked Eli who else had heard. He listed 4 people. Family, friends, a cousin, even one of Dad's clients. It all clicked. They didn't just want to cut ties. They wanted to destroy my credibility, in case I ever came back for more. I went home and pulled out that folder again, but I wasn't calling my lawyer this time. I was calling a therapist. Not for me. For Mason and Ava. Because if these people were going to keep trying to claw their way back into our lives, my kids deserved every possible tool to understand why they weren't the problem. That Monday, I scheduled the first session. And the next time my mom tried to call from a different number, I answered. I let her start with her usual sweet, sugar-coated concern. Then I said, "If you ever send something to my house again or lie about me to another person, I will go to court, and next time it won't be about money." She hung up without saying a word. They thought they'd scare me back into silence. But they forgot. I don't scare easy anymore. We spent the rest of the summer in peace. Disneyland, beach days, backyard camping. The kids started sleeping better. No more questions about Grandma or Grandpa. They were healing, and I was finally breathing again. Then the photos started showing up. Not on my accounts, Those were locked down tight. But through mutuals, screenshots forwarded by friends, someone was watching, still obsessing. The captions were all the same shade of bitter. Some people run away to pretend they're good parents. Funny how generosity dries up when the cameras are off. Kids deserve a stable mother, not a dramatic one. None of it stung as much as it used to. But what did hit me hard was the realization that they were never going to stop. They weren't mad that I cut them off. They were mad that I didn't need them anymore. So I blocked every mutual who didn't stand up for me, cleaned house. I wasn't going to explain myself to people who thought, "But they're your parents," was an excuse to accept abuse. Then, out of nowhere, Lauren called from a new number. I almost didn't answer. I should have gone with that instinct. She didn't even ask how I was. She jumped straight in. "You told everyone Dad didn't pay for my college. That's messed up." He looked humiliated in front of Uncle Ray. I reminded her that I didn't tell everyone. Uncle Ray figured it out with the receipts. "You know, the ones I gave him after you and Dad screamed at me in front of my kids." She had the nerve to sound offended. "You really think this is all about money?" "No. I think this is about you living in a fantasy where I'm your ATM and punching bag at the same time." She called me selfish, said I ruined Dad's milestone birthday, dragged our family through the mud, and then ran off to Disney to celebrate. That last word stuck in my throat like poison. Celebrate. I told her Ava still flinches at raised voices, that Mason stopped drawing pictures of Grandpa, that I had to hire a therapist because their little comments rewired my kids into thinking they weren't lovable. Then I told her if she ever called again, I'd add her to the cease and desist I was already preparing for Dad. She didn't like that. She called me a narcissist, said I was turning my kids into victims, said I needed to grow up. The kids heard her yelling. Ava started crying. That was it. I gathered every last piece of nerve I had left and said, "Get out of my life." I hung up, held Ava until she fell asleep. Then I sat on the kitchen floor and cried, but not because I missed them, because I was exhausted. And then something I never expected. Lauren showed up at my door the next week. Alone, tear-streaked, eyes red, no makeup, hair a mess. She didn't have to say anything. I already knew. They turned on her too. I stepped outside. Didn't invite her in. She looked at me like she'd just seen lightning hit the ground. "You were right," she said. She'd confronted them. Asked Dad if it was true about the money. He didn't deny it. Just said it was none of her business. Told her to stop asking questions, unless she wanted to end up like Jennifer. She said it broke something in her. Said she thought they were trying, really trying, that they were flawed but loving. But now she wasn't sure they even knew how to love. Then she started crying. Real crying. Not the performative stuff I grew up with. I stood there, arms crossed, trying to decide if I believed her. And then she said the words I never thought I'd hear. "I'm sorry. For laughing. For not defending your kids. For letting them treat you like you were nothing." I opened the door and let her in. The kids were asleep. We sat on the couch and talked until sunrise. And when she finally left, I walked her to her car, and she hugged me like she didn't want to let go. I don't know if she's changed. Not really, but I know she meant it. And for now, that's enough. The next week, she moved out of our parents' house. And I don't know if I'll post more updates, but for now, thank you, all of you, for listening. It's strange how quickly silence can become a kind of peace. After years of noise, accusations, guilt trips, fake apologies, that silence felt like the world exhaling. My phone stopped lighting up with hidden numbers. No more secondhand updates from mutual friends. No more sugar-coated poison disguised as concern. Quiet. And in that quiet, we started living. The kids were thriving. Ava joined art club. Mason started writing little stories about superheroes with glitter capes. They weren't looking over their shoulders anymore, waiting for Grandpa to call or Grandma to randomly show up. The scars were still there, but they'd started fading. Slowly. But they were fading. Lauren was different too. She was showing up. Really showing up. She came to Mason's school play. She took Ava thrift shopping and taught her how to hem a skirt. She even helped me paint the hallway one weekend. No strings attached. We didn't talk about the past much. It hung there between us. But we didn't poke at it. Just moved around it gently. Then one Sunday morning, I got an email from an old family friend. Not someone I was especially close to, but she always meant well. She said, "I just thought you should know. They've been telling people you've cut them off because you're unstable, that you've turned Lauren against them, that you're trying to break the family." I wasn't surprised. I just hadn't realized how far the story had spread. A cousin I hadn't seen in years reached out next. Said she heard I'd lost it after Dad's birthday and ran away to Disneyland to avoid getting help. Another one messaged Lauren asking if she was safe. That's when it hit me. They weren't just angry. They were rewriting the story. They were scrubbing the blood off their hands and painting halos over their heads. And they were doing it so fast that people were actually buying it. Lauren was furious. She wanted to post everything. The receipts, the texts, the lawyer letter, the check. She wanted to burn it all down. I told her not to. Not yet. Because I realized something important. They didn't want me to stay quiet out of shame. They wanted me to stay quiet out of fear. Fear of being the crazy one, the emotional one, the dramatic daughter who ruins parties and sues her parents. So I did the one thing they weren't prepared for. I told the truth. I posted a long message on my private social page. Just friends and family. No accusation. No attacks. Just facts. What they said to my children. What they tried to do with the party. The tuition money. The screaming. The threats. The therapy. And the peace that came only after I shut the door for good. I ended it with one line. I didn't destroy the family. I just stopped bleeding for it. The response was bigger than I expected. Quiet likes. DMs from cousins I hadn't heard from in years. One even said, "I always wondered if it was just me." That same night, I got another email. This one from my mom. It said, "Congratulations. Hope you feel better now. We always knew you'd turn on us eventually. No apology. No ownership. Just bitterness, disguised as righteousness." I didn't reply. I didn't even feel hurt. Just tired. The next week, I changed my number again. Not because I was afraid, but because I was done giving them doorways back into my life. A few days later, Lauren dropped by after work. She had dinner with us, stayed through bedtime, and then we sat on the porch in the dark, just breathing. After a long pause, she asked me, "Do you think we'll ever be able to forgive them?" I thought about Ava's tears after the party, Mason whispering if he'd done something wrong, the years of carrying everyone on my back while being told I wasn't enough. "I don't know," I said. "But I know I'm not going back." She nodded, then said, "I'm not either." A week later, she handed me a letter. It was from her. Not to me, to them. She said she mailed it that day, and she didn't want to talk about what it said, just that it was goodbye. She moved into a new apartment shortly after, a little brighter, a little further from the past. She's building something for herself, piece by piece, like I am. We're not perfect, but we're here. And as for whether I'll share more, I'm not sure. Maybe this is the end. Maybe it's just the end of this story. But for now, to those of you who listened, who messaged, who said, "Me too, thank you. You helped me feel real."